The ship I flew, a B-24J, was built at Willow Run. At that plant, they got into mass production there, turning them out at the rate of 1 per hour. Actually, that was a 3-shift crew that turned them out at that rate. When they put a 4th crew on for a short time, they turned them out at the rate of every 22 minutes, but that was for a very short time. The irony of that is that there are only 10 left in the whole country, 10 B-24s left out of 18,479 that were built. And only 2 of those are in flyable condition. The Confederate Air Force's plane, which is really the C-87 cargo version of the B-24, and the Collins Foundation All-American restored B-24J, which is equipped exactly as they were for World War II. Gun emplacements, turrets, bombs, oxygen bottles. The configuration of that airplane is identical to the one I flew in the service. A significant historical event occurred here in the Twin Cities over the 4th of July this year, in that we brought in 2 aircraft, a B-17 and a B-24. And that, incidentally, is the first time in nearly 50 years that those 2 planes have been together at one time in the city of Minneapolis. We've had one or the other here, but never both of them at the same time. The Collins Foundation from Stowe, Massachusetts, are responsible for bringing these 2 perfectly restored aircraft to us at this particular time. Bob Collins found the B-24 in England. It had served in England and had flown with the RAF for a time at near the close of the war. At the end of the war in 1948, it was sent to India, and they flew it until 1968. The country of India then returned it to Great Britain to a collector who had intended to restore it and just decided it was too big a project for him to do, and stored it in a garage or barn. And it was there that Bob Collins found the plane and shipped it back to the United States. Incidentally, the Smithsonian Institute had taken a look at it and decided it was too big a project for them too. The Collins Foundation solicited help from corporate sponsors who had been involved in the building of these airplanes, plus crews that had flown in them. And several people, 2,400 plus people, responded by donations to help him restore this. The All-American is a totally, completely restored B-24J, outfitted exactly as it was in the service, at a cost of $1.2 million. There are 1,200,000 parts in a B-24. That plane was literally stripped from stem to stern, new staves put in it where they were corroded or worn, new rivets throughout, 40% of the skin replaced. The plane had a complete and thorough overhaul, new engines put aboard, and the ship has flown. Collins Foundation has done the same thing with his B-17, restored it to mint condition. It crashed one time off the end of the runway, and he put $750,000 into restoring it back to prime condition, adding the chin turret and other things that were not on it initially, to bring it up to the same configuration as the B-24, totally restored as it was in the European theater of operations. And again, with support from crews that had been involved in it, plus some corporate sponsors. Their whole thrust in doing this restoration is to keep that airplane flying. It has no home base. Neither of those planes has a home base as such. Last year, they visited 118 cities and were out 242 days. This year, their goal is 125 cities, and their intent is to keep them flying and shown to the public. And I think when you consider how significant that is, it's a great tribute to the aircraft and to those of us that had anything to do with it, that there is the opportunity for the public to see a plane that is so significant in helping us win World War II. The All-American has toured many cities. When it was out in the West Coast, my nose gunner made it to to view it one time, and is pictured in front of this aircraft. It's rather significant, I think, that our crew has maintained close contact. The other pilot, B. Ray Shaw, has passed away, but his widow continues to come to our reunions. We've had a number of reunions, some of which have been in England. The last one was at Sturbridge, Massachusetts, and we've come together often. We keep in correspondence with one another. We telephone one another regularly. We will see each other again in October at Las Vegas. But just to show you how important it is, people go a long ways out of their way to see this airplane when it comes into a base. So advanced publicity is important, and if they know about it, they come from many, many miles to see this airplane. It is that significant. There's the all-American B-24 Liberator, Model J, same model I flew in World War II, identically the same, outfitted just as it was in European theater of operations. Pratt & Whitney engines. There's the dedicated crew. Each person that contributed $1,000 to the restoration of that plane is listed, and they can fly their position when they come into a town near them. So jets are for kids. I kind of like that. I think that's right. That's the forward or front nose turret. Honor crews and other people are listed, all of whom have donated to the restoration of the plane. There's the cockpit of the B-24, pilots and co-pilots compartment. You're looking past the engineer's platform and at the controls. I still feel that blindfolded I could touch most of the switches and controls. I probably would get fooled if I sat there, but I'd sure like to try. Automatic pilot in the center, and controls and mixture controls and prop settings. That was the navigator's platform directly behind the firewall, and radio operator was below him. This is looking into the Bombay area, looking forward to the Bombay and a couple of bombs that are racked up in the forward compartment of the Bombay. Lots of pipes and so forth with hydraulic fluid and electronics. This is the stanchions between the Bombays. It's pretty narrow. I guarantee you couldn't use a parachute going through there. This is upper turret, top turret. I was trying to orient myself. See the deflector that forces the air past the open window. The windows on the waist were always open, but there were deflectors that took the wind around it. This is the tail turret, and operator sat right in that tail turret, and it rotated from side to side and up and down.
What kind of formation did you fly on that tail?
I flew a real tight formation. I actually brought the antenna in the forward compartment of our airplane right up under that antenna and forced the tail gunner out of one of those. And he wasn't going to fly if I was going to fly that tight a formation. But in Europe, the belly turret was taken out. That's where our radar dome went in. This is the handles of the forward turret, and the bombardier was in a compartment below that. That was where the belly turret went, but later on we used that radar dome for our Mickey operator, and they were able to bomb through 10/10's cloud cover. There wasn't a lot of room from side to side in that aircraft for two waist gunners firing from opposite sides. Then you got to remember that the floor in that place was full of shells that came out of the guns as they were fired.